uh it's like, man, you know when something is kind of important, and when it just seems like something always stands in the way of you uh getting it done, man. Or like it just tends to keep you that little bird up there. It just gets you distracted just long enough to draw you away to procrastinate or even miss the opportunity altogether. But it's this discerning of spirits. I mean, I always heard that, and I figured, I thought to some extent that I knew it already for some reason. And if I really knew it already, like I should have, then how come I didn't recognize like a spirit of rejection, or the root of bitterness that leads to a bitter spirit, or a Jezebel spirit? I mean, okay, when it comes to spirits are not just like entities, though they there's an embodiment of an entity, like the angel of death that went over Egypt. It's like there's there's archetypal symbols or imagery that they use to convey that message, because they actually, I don't think anyone who's seen the actual angel pass over, supposedly, that was a very gruesome, scary sight. But anyway, and most of the people who seen it didn't come out alive. Anyway, discerning of spirits, man. And it's like a spirit isn't only just an entity or a demon, like a figure. Like sometimes demons are in your mind. It's when you start to entertain evils, and it's like in a way in your mind you're planning on, and you're wanting or you're covetous of some kind of negative thing, like you know uh your neighbor's, let's just say, you would like to, you really envy his lawn, and and you're be like, man, I wish his house would catch on fire, man, and I could get the land for me. I mean, something like stuff like that. That's just a hypothetical thing, but it's like a spirit is also this. All right, spirit. It's like spirits are high today, or there's low morale. See, spirits also, spirits of people, the living spirits, the people who are alive, or there can be living people whose spirits are dead, and there's others who could look like they're dead on the outside, but on the inside, spiritually, they're they're straight up piercing. They're renting the veil in a way. But see, now that I'm aware of all these spirits and I can spot them out, and it's just been revealing things to me, like it's like, man, dude, I can just. It's like almost like reading code on the Matrix. All of a sudden, you'll catch these oddball messages, and you'll perceive them, and then you'll see them. You'll see it. You'll follow it up. Like you'll be like, spirits are tricky. So in order to sometimes to catch a spirit, just it's like, okay, a spirit, like it's like spirits can be high or low, like in a way it's people's attitude, their mindset. And I also realized someone was teaching about this Jezebel spirit, how it's not a regular kind of spirit that just possesses someone. There's multiple occurrences in their life that like set this person up to let the root of bitterness get in there, and that helps open the door for this spirit of Jezebel to take hold, which is a bitter, rejected spirit that starts to manipulate and use their. It's like basically, it's kind of like once your conscience is broken, you operate with a broken conscience. It's like moral relativism. Oh, it's the ends justify the means in a way, but it's like in a way, it's like, look, you grow up in a family with no father. The woman grows up, kind of resents men, gets married, is unfaithful, gets divorced, departeth treacherously, and then coming out of that with this hyperinflated ego and overconfidence, because it's like it's a compensation for being broken and rejected and bitter, that you try to be overly sexual, because it's like that's kind of how that spirit works. It's like it's a long train of abuses, and they get this self indoctrination, this life indoctrination, and it's done intentionally too, man. To people, our whole system is set up with these with these whooping sticks, like these little stations where you go on one table, there's the sin, and at the next table there's this stick you got to crack yourself over the head with and on the back with, because you could have easily just walked away from the table, but you just chose to sit there. And I mean, even though you sat there, you could have got up and walked away and came to your senses, but for some reason you tarried and lingered longer than you should have. So then that's the longer you're sitting at that other table, with the knee chair, so you can sit on your knees while you're whacking yourself on the back with this stick. The high spirit and the low spirit, you know what I'm saying? But, look, you get too high spirited, you'll lose touch with reality. If you get too low spirited, you'll be too drained and fatigued to really perceive reality. So it's like, one, you're overly hypersensitized and you lose touch from reality. And the other one is you're just too desensitized and worn out to even put in the effort to see it. I mean, it's freaking crazy. And that's a spirit too. Like, you could say the spirit of a time. A time, an age has a spirit to it. A nation has a spirit. A nationalistic spirit. There's this Python spirit, which is basically, these were all they were people, they were prophets of Apollyon that worshipped this Python. And here's the thing: in Isaiah it says, "Thou shalt be a serpent, thou shalt be a fiery flying serpent, then thou shalt become a cockatrice." Okay, you look at China; they had this fiery flying red worm-looking serpent dragon. Okay. The Mayans had this Quetzalcoatl, which is a green flying freaking sun serpent. And you have Egypt, they had their sun serpent, but it was more connected to water. And you got the Vatican now, which they live in this thing called, the Vatican is based in this thing called the Basilica, which is the abode of the Basilisk, which is a serpentine reptilianoid like a creature that looks at you and it can turn you to stone. And that kind of, to me, jives with the cockatrice, because a cockatrice is kind of like to me it seems more like a mythological creature than real, but then again, maybe it is real. I mean, at least, here's the thing: if you think spiritual and hyperdimensionally, maybe there are like entities which in a way are like mascots for these cults that it says in Enoch that they'll worship the demons thinking that they're gods. And you can always see these type of things because you'll see it in their fruits. Their fruits is children sacrifice, or they'll rob the poor to put food to their idols that don't eat, speak, or think. You know what I'm saying? And can't lift a finger to save you or themselves. It's just kind of like, it's stupid when you really look at it, and it's like, man, that is just not very efficient. It's just a wasteful mindset and ideology. See, spirits can also be ideological, or ideologies can bust your mind and your conscience so that you'll get this entitlement, or this group, I'm in the in crowd and we are right. So therefore, your acceptance comes actually from fear that came from the fact that that you don't want to be rejected, which is a person who suffers from the rejected spirit. There's no way they can say no when they're put under too much pressure, because it's just too hard for them to break the fear of rejection is the rejected spirit as well. That makes people act out, because look, that's going to give you your nihilist anarchist type mindset, like, and at the same time, it's also going to give you your hardcore neoconservative, fascistic, corporatist, harsh, hardcore, fanatical nationalism and stateism. Stateism is the Antichrist spirit, to be in all honesty. I mean, you can. see, there's a lying spirit, which like a person who is a pathological liar, that's a lying spirit. But a lying spirit also could be a spirit that tricks someone, and just veers them away from true things, and has a tendency just to draw you into too deep into the murk, to where you get disoriented and bewildered. They really want to drown you, but they got that's the more effort they got to put into it, and the more you got to f up. And you know what I mean? And it's like I notice like people these days, it's almost like a spirit is in them that is trying to make a verbal contract with me, where they're trying to implant some kind of like renege, and they want me to agree with their opinion. And I'm like, man, dude, that's a freaking spirit. This is the same spirit jumping in and out of people, trying to just trap me up. And I can hear it in conversation. The spirits will reveal themselves, and how they reveal it is through fruit. Well, if you hear someone lying a lot, well, that's a lying spirit. And they work with seduction. They make the lie sound good. They try to. It's like those lusty novels that they write. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that, but in a way, they try to sell you on something and they make it look attractive. That's how the seducing spirits work. And or there's some kind of reward for your alliance, for your compliance, for your approval. That's the thing the rejected spirit looks for, and the Jezebel spirit looks for. They want to operate, and they need someone to approve everything they do. Like it's they basically demand a little bit of worship, or a lot. It depends on which level of severity you're dealing with there. But the Python spirit is a seducing spirit that prophesies things that may come true, and maybe that's part of the seduction, is that you get supernatural intel, but it's from demons, and it comes at a price. You're gonna lose those things. Will probably lose and take with it your sanity, or you just lost touch, man, from playing in two worlds at once, half in the spirit, half in the physical. And then you lose your attachment to one or the other. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you can in a way. There's examples of that, but there's this what is it, man? The Testament of Solomon, and it's just got like, listen, just revenge or wrath, destruction, jealousy. These are spirits as well. That there's actual entities that they're out causing strife. I think strife is another one. You can see people contentiously contend, or it's like, I think there's something, why dost thou protest so much? Like, what are you hiding? In a way, you're acting like you're exposing something, but really you're doing that to hide something else. And an ulterior motive. That's kind of a deceiving spirit, a lying spirit. Or if you see someone who's just, you got to recognize that bitterness, the root of bitterness, man, it's an ugly thing, and until you realize that there is such a thing, it's hard to contend with it. You know what I'm saying? You'll be overcome by it because it's you. You know what I'm saying? You've let it grow unchecked all these years and never knew it was there. You've been deceived. It's been hidden from you. But that's why, you see, how come I heard that? Let not the root of bitterness take hold. How come that never jumped out at me? Or just this rejected spirit. I heard people say this so many times. I didn't even take the time to Google it up and recognize that this isn't just metaphorical, that when it comes to these spirit things. No, it's the real deal. It's that's to be awake to the spiritual. It's like me, like when I look at the sky and I say, look, dude, that's an angel right there. It's like, look, that's demons. Like I see the demon face coming out of 9/11 footage, or a volcano down in Mexico blew up, and I was looking at the cloud, and it looked like an Aztec warrior. It had a big ass hooked nose and a weird looking headdress thing, and it was a big smoke cloud that was fiery, and it looked like one of those Mayan pictures that they drew on their pyramids, those hieroglyphs, man, and it was freaking insane. It's being spiritual awake. So how can you be spiritually awake and not believe that there's spiritual interactions happening every day, and just regular communication, and just in your environment, and in the environment of your mind as well.